Chandra Gomin said something around those lines. The more we think of the pleasures, the good times, the more our attachments grow and the lesser our desire for liberation. And the more we contemplate or think of the suffering or the problems of everyday life, the problems of cyclic existence, the more our attachment decreases and the greater our wish for liberation. Isn't that so? When we think about the movies that we're gonna watch, where we're going to go on holiday, the restaurants, the nice meal we're going to have, the coffees, the pastries, our attachment to these things grows and we're less wary about cyclic existence. Of course, we feel a little bit guilty from time to time, and soon we think about the next movie, the next walk on the beach, and our awareness for cyclic existence is gone. But when suddenly we have a sickness, or a loss of a friend, or a business problem, relationship problem, suddenly we have a revulsion for cyclic existence and we want to get out. So for a little while contemplate that in your own life, how the truth of that. At the beginning, when we hear about rebirth, that we have always existed, that we will always exist, it seems like a good news. I think, oh, great. But when we look a little bit closer to it, ordinary cyclic existence is not much fun. So perhaps we could go back in time. From your study of history, you can go any point back in time, 2,000 years ago, 2,500 at the time of Buddha. Or if you have traveled in poor countries like in the mountains in Nepal or in India, where you see people plowing their field with a cow, living in very simple housing, you can imagine how life was hard in time. So imagine yourself being somewhere 2,000 years ago in another body, another life. And there somehow you have that life, making a living, having a family, and growing old and older, getting sick, having the fear of death, and finally dying, going to the death absorption, clear light, arising in the bardo, going to that treacherous experience, due to karma and affliction, again reborn somewhere in a womb. Having this limited mind and body in a mother's womb, then the pain of birth, and then starting that life being completely dependent on others. For your food, for washing your body, for clothing you, completely dependent. And then you grow into that life, having to work hard, sweating, being tired. Falling in love, falling out of love. And then in history, the many periods of wars, of plagues, many types of disease that killed a great number. Many times we died in the womb or at delivery or in infancy. If we made it to adult, so much work, growing old, and again getting sick and dying from something. Again the fear of death. Again the bewilderment or the unknown of the bardo. Again due to karma and delusion, being proposed in a mother's womb as male or female. Again being 9 months there. Again the suffering of delivery. Again growing in that life, being dependent on others. So imagine that process again and again and again and again. We went through that. So put yourself into the shoes like that of a person and go through that life, die, be reborn, die, be reborn, die, be reborn. See how it is like, what we went through so far. So it doesn't look that much fun. But it's even worse. Because most of our time we are not human. Most of our time we are in lower realms. Like Buddha gave the example of the famous tortoise. We spend 100 years in the lower realm, and only once every 100 years we go to breathe to the surface being the upper rebirth. So most of our time are actually in the hells as preta or animals. So imagine, being reborn there, your consciousness being in that body, in that environment, any one of those, and experiencing those suffering or those lifespan, which are very long, dying from there, be reborn in another hell or in another lower realm. And only from time to time we have a small chance, a small respite from it by being born in the upper realm. And soon we fall down again for a long period of time of suffering. And this has been going on since beginningless time. Try to imagine, try to feel what does that mean, beginningless time. And we are still completely stuck in cyclic existence under the control of karma and delusions. Completely stuck. Whereas other beings smarter than us, meanwhile, have reached enlightenment. They have light energy bodies. They go as they please. They can have billions of bodies at the same time. Remind yourself of what you read in the sutras about the Buddha's paradise, their pure lands, their activities, their miraculous powers. And instead of working hard to gain this light energy body, and this blissful omniscient mind. What do we trade our time for? Looking for small pleasures of food, of sleep, movies, meals, that never truly satisfy. We have met the teacher, we have the teachings to experience clear light, illusory body, bodhicitta, emptiness. We have the same teaching that Milarepa, Naropa, Nagarjuna had. We have the same bodies. And in many cases we have better physical condition than they had. How come that we are not more diligent in our practice? If we had the guarantee that we could continue our spiritual path next life, we could relax a bit. But what chance do we have to have again a body as human in a peaceful country with religious freedom, having enough money and means not to have to work too hard, to be attracted to Dharma, to meet a spiritual teacher in the caliber of our precious teacher, to get the complete path of Sutra and Tantra, to understand it, and to have this willingness to practice and give up many other activities. What chance do we have for all this to come together again next time? The mind is impermanent, is changing, so it can be bent. By applying the teaching, the mind changes. So it is possible to generate renunciation, bodhicitta, emptiness, and the two tantric stages. We have all the teachings. And the mind can change. So by practicing intensely, as our teacher have taught us, within a certain number of years, we could gain irreversible realizations. We could close the door of lower rebirth, or say goodbye to cyclic existence, or have this dedicated heart that effortlessly helps beings forever. We could become that. It's like Rinpoche says, it's at the tip of our wish. It's all in our hands. we have this choice. Each moment we can create causes for more cyclic existence, in indulging in pleasure, attachment, or create the cause for liberation and enlightenment. Each moment we see things as solid, inherently existent. We reinforce our cyclic existence. And each moment we see things as merely labeled, as empty of inherent existence, or as dreamlike. We become closer to liberation. Each moment we create the cause either of cyclic existence or of liberation. It's all in our hand. We dedicate. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not a reason arise and grow, and may that which has a reason not diminish but increase more and more. Lama Sangye Do Yone Do Chi Kya Manuba De Sala Gamasho Jancho Sencho Rinpoche Makye Panam Ge Gyuchi Kyawanyam Pa Me Payo Goni Gondu Pabasho. Next session in a half hour.